Okay, I am just like a wellspring of good stories. So, one of the actors, his name is Dan, okay? He plays Ichabod. I just love that name. Anyway, like I say, we were all friends in high school, so we all know each other pretty well. And we were all in a lot of the similar things. One thing that me, Jesse, and Dan were in was in speech and debate. Yeah, Betsy was in it also, okay, but she graduated a year before us, and so she did not participate in this fun little story. Now, we were at another city, getting ready to compete, and before we before we even went to the competition area, we were there several hours early. So naturally, we go to the mall, and the mall. Okay, first of all, I should say this too. Haver, especially in speech and debate, is incredibly. What would you say it is? It's stoic and it's very uptight, kind of. Yeah, when we were in it, it was because we had to dress fancy everywhere.
Speech and debate was incredibly uptight. The people.
Yeah. Anyway, so
It was a nice.
so anyway, and it's kind of funny too because Jesse and I were in impromptu, which was basically screw around for the entire weekend, which was awesome. By the way, I really miss it. Anyway, we had to dress nice everywhere because we were representing our city, and we always had a nice one of the really nice coach buses because we were representing the city, and so we were always awesome. Okay, that was just the best way of saying it. We were always awesome. Anyway, we were at this mall, and Dan's walking around with his girlfriend, and I don't know if Betsy will ever show our faces next to our characters or something like that, but if she does, look at Dan, the guy who plays Ichabod, and right now I know he'll send in a really nice picture. He'll look really nice. But anyway, in high school, he was the type of guy where if he looked at you, you just instantly wanted to punch him in the face. Okay? He looked like he was someone who was just going to screw with you the entire day just to make you angry, not like So basically it was like his face was sarcastic. Okay? That's the best way of saying it. Anyway, so he was walking around with his girlfriend, and they weren't really doing anything, and there was a security guard who was walking around, and he for some reason, got angry at Dan. And he went up to Dan, and he's like, "You better watch yourself." And Dan's sitting there, like, "Okay." And they just keep walking around, and they run the security guard again. He's like, and the security guard was following them, too. And, yeah, really. And anyway, so the security guard approached him again, and he's like, "You guys better not be doing anything that's against the law or against the rules around here." And Dan's like, "No, I'm sorry." Yeah, no, Dan always looks like he's going to be doing something. And the thing is, in the security guard's defense, Dan was usually doing something. Dan was either doing something or having something done to him. Right? That's kind of how it was. He was kind of the butt end of every prank that we had a lot of the time. Anyway. Yeah, he was stereotyped pretty correctly. But anyway, he wasn't actually misbehaving. This was the only time that we were on speech and debate trip that he wasn't actually misbehaving, and he was getting harassed by the security. And the security came up and he was like, "You guys better not be doing anything illegal or anything like that." And Dan's like, "I'm sorry, but I don't know why you're after me. I don't know. I mean, we're not doing anything bad." And the security guard looks at him and is like, "You know what, punk? Just so you know, I just came back from Iraq." And Dan looks at him and is like, "Sorry?" I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say to that. I mean, honestly, if someone came up to you and said that, what in the world would you say? I mean, I think I would personally say, "Well, thank you." But if they said it very angrily at me, I'd just be like, "Well, thank you, I guess." But anyway, Dan just says, "Well, sorry, I guess." And then he says, "Well, were you in the Army or the Marines?" And the guy, like, without even pause, he's like, "Army or Marines?" He's like, "Marines!" Like that. He was angry at this point. And then so Dan keeps walking around, and finally the security guard, for some reason, still annoyed at this kid, follows him out to the bus when he was going back on the bus. And he asked what our teacher or what our coach's name was, and for obvious reasons I can't actually say. Yeah, I'll just say Coach Punchface. It's like, yeah, it's Coach Punchface, and he says, "Is that Mr. Coach Punchface or Mrs. Coach Punchface?" And said, "Well, I think he'd get pretty angry if you called him Mrs. Coach Punchface." Coach Punchface. And then so Dan was sitting there, and it took every ounce of strength not to sit there. He was like right like on the bus. What he really wanted to do is sit there and be like, "All right, officer, rub badge, rub badge, rub badge, rub badge." Just sit there and rub that badge that he had on there right before he got on the bus. Unfortunately, he didn't do that because I think the guy probably would have killed him. Yeah. But it was just so weird. The security guard just kept following around.
Far away from
He would have gotten
being a murder victim.
Now, see, what's really funny is at this point, the security guard is following around this guy who looks like he's always doing something. And he wasn't actually doing his job because several of our co-teammates, or some of our fellow teammates, one of them was pretty smart. He was in one of Jesse's stories. He was really smart, and he somehow found out how to hack a soda machine. So there were like 12 people around the soda machine that were doing this little hack and getting free soda, and the security guard wasn't around. Yeah, it was definitely pretty funny.
They were picking on Dan.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Did you give Dan a soda?
Yeah, they didn't. Dan did not get a soda.
Hey,